We are the Lifeliners, and we sung that yesterday and had such a great time. Earl and Jill were here, Earl Alley. Earl was, I guess, my father's best friend. I spoke at my dad's funeral, was Dad's Sunday school superintendent here at the old church, and then moved to Maryland, and when I went up there, became my Sunday school superintendent. And we just love them so much and glad that Rob and Merle brought them back. It was such a treat. David and Lucille Rogers here yesterday. I have not seen them in years. And he had the Sunday school class that I attended as a teenager. And he was so large that he had to teach from the hall. It was amazing what God did. But I'll never forget, you that knew my mother know that nobody in our house had a vote. All right, Sharon. Nobody had a vote. Dad didn't, I didn't. Am I right? And when I was about 13 years of age, and this will take faith on your part, but I had a full head of hair back then. I've told my wife that when I was in high school, I had such a head of hair, the girls would come up and want to run their fingers through it. And she said, that's why God took it away. I was so proud of it. And when I was 13, Mother gave me a permanent. And I'll never forget having to go to Sunday school the first Sunday with my hair in a permanent at 13. Mother should have been arrested for child abuse at that point. Those memories are still with me. Well, what a joy to see them yesterday and to have Bob and Darlene Hopkins, who are from this church, and especially Darlene. They also were in Wheaton. Bob was instrumental in bringing me to Wheaton, Maryland, and we took a church, and Bob is instrumental in that church growing along with me from 42 to nearly 300 through a bus ministry, and played such a part in our life. And they've driven here from Hilton Head, South Carolina. Here's Allie's from Florida, Hilton Head. And then we have people that I pastored. We have the Snyders here that I was pastor for a number of years that now live in Winston-Salem and drove all the way over here to hear me preach. What a joy. I had to preach good for you guys, I know it. And Phil and Donna Hamrick, who now live in Radford. And I was their pastor. They're dear friends of ours for a number of years. We're just so glad to have you. And all the others. There are too many for me to mention, but thank you, as well as the people that come here on a regular basis. Yesterday, it was fascinating to hear George Akers tell stories about my life. He, I believe, knows more about me than anybody. And I took time this morning and took Jeannie by the old church, took some pictures, and then I took her by our high school up there. And she's heard about me when I was a teenager. And she said, Wesley, did you really do all those things? And I said, well, ask George Akers or Reggie. But I'm sure there were times, I know there were for a fact, that had Dad not been a pastor here, and it was a different day like now, I probably would have been arrested for some of the things we did. But because of God's grace and Dad being a pastor, I'm here today. And I am here today because of God's grace. It's hard to believe that I'm now on Medicare. I mean, you can talk about me all you want to, but I'm on Medicare now. I've got my AARP card, and I've had it a long time. But I'm here because of God's grace. Webster defines God's grace as the unmerited favor of God toward mankind. But I like the definition of a little girl in Sunday school when she was asked, what is God's grace? She said, it's something God gives you for nothing. And because of God's grace and God's mercy, I'm here today. And I thank God for the memories, for you that were in church at that time. And again, Pastor, for allowing me to come home today. I was here twice for revival with Paris Wood. In fact, the first revival I had, they ran my picture in the paper. JR remembers this. And if you recall, that first night was one of the biggest crowds we had in a long time at Pulaski Church. People came from everywhere. My school teachers came back, not to worship God, not to have revival, just to see if I really was a preacher. And they filled that place up. But twice there, and the second time, CR has allowed me to come. And I thank you so much. As you know, Mother was a music teacher and had 45 students. How many took from her? I know several did. Rudell, Karen, and several of you took music from her. I know there are a number of people here today that I know play better than I do. I know everybody in the front row does. But I've been requested to play this morning. I was requested for Jeannie and I to sing. We no longer sing for many reasons. We never did sing good. and we knew that, but we did record 2 long play albums and sold 2,000. If you don't believe there's a God, that story ought to make you believe there's a God if you heard us sing. We were preaching revival up in West Virginia, and a lady came up one night and said, Brother Peyton, I'm going to buy your album, but I don't have a record player to play it on, but I'm going to buy it anyway. My wife said she enjoyed it more than anybody else because she would never hear it, but we had a record. Many of you have heard Mother over the years play, I guess it's electronic piano. You got to set up just like for a regular keyboard. Play the song When They Ring Those Golden Bells for You and Me. And so this morning, in her honor, I'll play that. You that knew her, took music from her, may remember, maybe it wasn't true with you, but each year at Christmas, she would tell her students what to bring her for Christmas. Fascinating lady, wasn't she? Yeah, you remember. And she had them often bring china. Tell them where to go buy, which piece to buy. When she died, we inherited several sets of china. And I want to thank you for that china.